Okay, everybody, you should be able to hear me now. Let's wait 1 minute. I'm going to invite people to co-host. 1 minute, please.
Hello. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can. Absolutely. Seb, it's great to have you here. Stan, also, 1 second. We'll just be waiting for JP Thor to join and his co-host. We'll be getting started in a couple of minutes. Guys, if you are listening to this, the Twitter spaces, the AMAs, they are full of tech talk. If you're here today and you're interested to learn more about THORChain, we're not going to be diving into Rune Pool 2.0 and memoless transactions. We've heard it before. We understand it. We want to be looking at the business models, growth strategies, and digging into the mind of JP Thor as well. There's a lot that we can learn from him. He's an OG member of the THORChain ambassadors, for one. He's been away for a couple of years, and as you can see, he's been very active on social media recently. We'd like to dig into his mind and learn more about the THORChain ecosystem, where it's going, their plans for expansion, and specifically that road to $100 billion. You've probably seen it yourself before. We want to learn more about that. Please share some love. If you can share this space with your friends or anybody who you think might be interested, rune holders, people interested in THORChain, give it a share, and so we can get this on the road. 1 more minute, here we go. JP Thor, we have you up. I'm inviting you as a speaker. You can please accept. JP Thor, I've added you. There we go. We've got you, my man. How are you today?
Hey, good evening. Just double checking I've reposted this to everybody, and welcome the THORChain Twitter account. So you can verify I'm no longer on the THORChain Twitter account just because there's two of us here. Let me just do a quick little repost. Yep. Catch me here now. Done. Post. Okay, cool. I'm going great. I'm in New Zealand at the moment, so it's 9 p.m. on a Monday night.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I hope it's not too late for you. Familiar Cow, he's in our Telegram group. Where can I find him here? Because I'd like to invite him up as a co-host.
Hey, what's up, guys? No, it's Familiar Cow.
There we go. There we go. Okay, so everybody, let's get started. Seb, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Mic is good. Audio is good. Excellent.
Well, good.
Guys, it's great to have you here. Thank you very much for accepting JP. Let's dig into it. You've been absent for a couple of years now. You know, you've kind of been in the shadows. I know that you are an OG THORChain ambassador yourself. You're very much an active community member. But tell us, what has changed over the past couple of years? What's new in your own words?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So first, the big question is why I doxed myself and came out as Lena, because I was hiding behind the Lena and the THORChain Twitter account for the last 6 years. It's just, in my opinion, I was always going to ditch the Lena alt as soon as THORChain became decentralized. And basically, I was able to remove the liability of myself around. Just double checking you can still hear me. Sorry, one second.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Audio is good. Audio is good.
Okay, cool. So once I determined that the protocol was handed over, my control on the network and its architecture and the nodes was diminished to 0. My unilateral control of the treasury was spread out over across the new treasury directors, and importantly, once the 60 million rune was burnt, because that was part of a wallet that I was controlling, which is a big limiting factor in the protocol. Once in my mind we had hit a certain number of steps to decentralize the protocol, then it was appropriate for me to come out. And what THORChain was missing was this kind of North Star, this like person to push it in a very strong direction. And it just was missing I call myself the chief energy officer now, the meme lord, the chief meme, the king, the leader of the memes. And because that's my job for the next 5 years, I have to campaign this community, campaign the node operators, campaign the devs now. And I'm trying to show everyone that actually THORChain actually is decentralized. And if you wanted to push in a certain direction, you've got to campaign the node operators, you've got to campaign the community with memes and data and a strong direction. And that's what I'm trying to prove, is because at some point in the next 5 years, ultimately I disappear or leave, or go build space launch systems and send rockets to Mars or whatever. In the next, the next 5-10 years. So at some point, I'll have to hand over the job of chief energy officer or meme lord to somebody else, and then THORChain will be the direction. So I'm trying to pave the way. So that's what's changed, and it's now the right time for me to do so. And yeah, happy to take any questions on that and what's happening. It's really important for me to project a clear direction for the protocol, because protocols often suffer from being leaderless and there's no direction. There's lots of infighting and competition and backstabbing and blah blah blah. And you see this a lot in, say, the Bitcoin community or some of the other communities. There's just chaos. So I'm trying to show the world, actually, you can run a leadership or manage a leaderless community, but align it on a strong direction. And some of the principles of the THORChain community have always been collaborative. We support Chainflip, Maya, Sarai, because we recognize to solve this hardcore problem of decentralized cross-chain liquidity, you cannot do it yourself. You cannot be vertically integrated. You cannot develop centralized points of failure. You must develop an ecosystem that's deep on the memes, that's strongly connected to a vision, and that chooses the collaborative approach, where we get to see the cross-pollination of developers' brain space and branding across all these protocols. There's now like 62 different apps and services in the THORChain ecosystem that are all marching towards the same vision. So when you approach this ecosystem, which is decentralized liquidity, and you say, let's shut this thing down, let's turn it off, let's go back to centralized exchanges. How do you even approach that problem now? Now you got Maya, you got Chainflip, you've got even Sarai coming around the corner with a decentralized liquidity launch for Monero swaps, and let alone THORChain itself and its decentralized networks. How do you shut this thing down when there's this giant, healthy, cohesive, directional community that's willing to go into battle every day? You cannot. And so that didn't exist 6 years ago, and it now exists through some hardcore principles that the THORChains have adhered to. So that's I hope that answers your question.
It really does answer the question. And there's so many different rabbit holes just from that one answer that we could go down. I want to get into the central exchanges later. I'm going to hand it over to Seb as well. But before I do, I'm just interested in a follow-up question. Is your motivation? It makes sense. I'm following you on social media, for example. Come on. Helicopters. By the way, you look great. I saw that picture of you, next to the glacier. And no, but come on. I mean, determination, motivation, it really says a lot about a person and, how well focused they are. So what is the motivation then?
Look, honestly, coming out of COVID, the world got decelerated. We got jammed into our houses for 6 months at a time, had vaccines smashed into our arms. And look, with the world decelerated, and honestly, with the advent of this kind of infinite content around us that's constantly distracting us, in my opinion, humanity is about to be zombified and we need to be reactivated. The pool of biological compute that's available to solve the hardcore problems facing humanity now and into the future is now shrinking. It's under threat. It's under threat by the D cells who want to zombify humanity and slow us down and consume less and burn less energy. So energy consumption is a proxy for lifestyle and the progression of humanity itself. Our ability to manifest agency and spread intelligence here on Earth and through the universe is directly correlated with our ability to learn, move, and create. We have two giant repositories that we need to protect and be guardians of. That is the genetic repository that has enabled us to even arrive here after billions of years of evolution. And the second thing in the last thousands of years is the development of a memetic repository. The THORChain is built by memes. The helicopter I fly around is built by memes. The aeronautical engineering, the computer science, the material science of the carbon fiber, the titanium on its leading edges, that is literally built with memes. Memes that are stored on our internet, transmitted through our fiber optic cables, stored on our phones. We no longer write them down. If you wanted to build me a helicopter without memes, you could not do it. So this giant memetic repository, which is under threat every single day from collapse, is what has to be protected. And humanity is about to be zombified. We need to reactivate, re-energize, get out there, learn, move, create, build, explore the world, and continue how we have been doing for the last billions of years, and resist the onslaught of the infinite content machines, which is basically AI, generative AI, and to resist and to progress. So that's my new direction. I fervently believe it. It's a reactivation of our purpose and I'm all in on it. And you can do a lot of really cool things once you start believing you can. So I'm just trying to show the world with flying around in helicopters around the world to sell it, this man and machine and memes direction that I'm really strong into right now, is showing you that actually just wake up, start doing something fucking cool because you can once you put your mind to it.
I love that answer. Guys, was anyone here expecting that kind of answer? Because I sure wasn't. Really, really interesting. I used to be in the Army Civil 20 years ago now, and we had a big poster on the wall and it said, lead, follow, or get out the way. And if you're ready to lead, then fine. And if you can't lead, then follow those who do. I think that we have a lot of followers here who are listening, who are actively ready to follow you along this journey. We're going to dig into the road to the $100 billion. You've mentioned this several times. I want to get into that a little bit later. But Seb, I know you're itching to ask a question about the THORChain system, its growth. Please go ahead. We're listening to you, Seb.
Well, no, I think it's very interesting, and I really like the spirit of a complete ecosystem where people and protocols, they gravitate around one common goal, let's say. So I really like this. And I was wondering, because I saw many people scared or afraid of competition. And you mentioned, for example, Chainflip and Serai. And I was wondering, what do you want to tell these guys? Like, I mean, the community, that the people that are a bit scared with this competition that is maybe not real competition, because we're all fighting towards like a world without sex, or I don't know. What do you want to tell them?
Right, so if you just go back thousands of years, why is religion such a potent meme? Religion is self-selecting because it coordinates large groups of people who are morally aligned. And when you're morally aligned and you can rely on your neighbor not killing you or backstabbing you or taking all your things, then you can direct your attention outwardsly, share resources, and innovate. And it's the communities that were able to do that most effectively that expanded rapidly around the world. And so we can borrow that analogy that being religion is a potent meme of coordination and apply it to THORChain. THORChain, instead of focusing on infighting and the she says nonsense and my protocol is better than your protocol, it actually just wants to collaborate, align ourselves on a moral compass of decentralized liquidity and say, actually, let's share resources and focus outward and solve the hardcore problem of which is literally just swaps. Deposit Ethereum on one chain and out pops Bitcoin on the other. That, believe it or not, is actually really hard to do. And we've already seen a huge amount of cross-pollination. We were part of the origin story of all those protocols, Chainflip, Maya protocol, Serai, even to the point where the developer behind Serai protocol was one of the lead bounty hunters of THORChain, earning some large bounties, several $1 million, I think, accumulated over the last 2 or 3 years. Because as he was re-implementing Serai in Rust, he was finding some code paths that we hadn't actually put some brain space into and explored the permutations of. And he reported those back to us, earned some bounties at the same time. THORChain got harder, and he actually got the funding needed to launch Serai and build Monero MPC, which is what he's doing. The same thing with Chainflip. Some of the developers are building products that actually help THORChain. Maya protocols developers who are building Maya blockchain explorers have applied that back to THORChain. There's a huge amount of cross-pollination going. And in the end of the day, guess what? Competition results in better execution for users. You have better price, you have better features, you have better routes. And in a certain direction, THORChain can't scale to all the chains at the same time because the developer bandwidth required to monitor all the chains, the L2s, the Bitcoin L2s, yada, yada, yada. There's a scaling ceiling which applies. Instead, it's much more beneficial for, say, Maya to focus in a certain direction and Chainflip to focus in another. And THORChain, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As long as there's a pool for every single chain on a protocol somewhere, you can swap over via aggregation, which we're already seeing today. And so users can swap, say, potentially in the future, Bitcoin to Monero, or like Litecoin or Dogecoin to Monero via THORChain and Serai and back again. So it's a collaborative approach, and at the beginning of this call, I did mention that the collaborative approach, building an ecosystem that's not vertically integrated. Take the case of Tornado Cash and Uniswap. Both those examples demonstrate to you why the vertically integrated approach is risky. Not only risky for the developers, but also risky for the users. Tornado Cash deployed the contracts, ran the middleware, ran the backend, ran the website, marketed himself, ran the doc site himself. And I mean, I feel for the guy. He shouldn't be in a prison, absolutely. But it created this giant centralized, vertically integrated chain that was very easy to take down. Today, you cannot interact with Tornado Cash on a front end. You have to interact directly with the contracts. I have used Tornado Cash. Vitalik Buterin has used the Tornado Cash. There should be no reason why anyone in this world cannot use Tornado. In fact, most of us here probably participate in the Tornado Cash, the original seed signing ceremony to generate that random entropy for the zero knowledge proofs. But because of the way that project was managed, we don't have Tornado Cash with us today unless you're willing to poke around the contract yourself. That's very disappointing. It could have been done differently. Same thing with Uniswap v3, or even just Uniswap. The team run the front end, they deploy the contracts, they run the middleware, they do the marketing, they do everything themselves. And guess who got a Wells notice a month ago? THORChain was always different. It never ran a front end. It pushed the middleware out to the community. It pushed node ops directly to the community. It kicks out nodes every 3 days. It doesn't have any logos. It doesn't even have delegated proof of stake. So there's no centralization of stake over time. That was a hardcore principle we had to fight many people for. But it serves its purpose. It means that if you run a node, you can get in as a slot. You can be anonymous. You can attract delegation within a private circle. You don't need logos to run marketing campaigns for. The validator set doesn't stagnate, et cetera, et cetera. So when you come to THORChain, if you're a 3-letter agency and you wanted to come to THORChain, how would you shut it down? What are you going to do? You're going to go perhaps talk to 9 Realms and say, hey, let's shut it down. Well, what are they going to do? Because they don't run the protocol, they don't run the nodes. You go to the node operators. Well, where do you even find the node operators? Even if you found like a collection of node operators and apply pressure on them, they can just churn out, and 3 days later they can, sell the rune, move it on to another person, and then that other node operator can churn in from Argentina or something like that. Do you go to the front ends? I mean, the front ends, the front ends like 60 of them. So you're going to shut all 60 of them down? Do you go to the regional core team? Well, the regional core team have all exit stage left, and that was by design. Do you even come to me? I'm in Australia. I don't run the treasury. I don't run the nodes. I don't run the protocol. I don't run the architecture. I can only campaign the protocol, the node operates in a certain direction. So how do you come to THORChain now and try and shut it down? And it means the world has decentralized swaps. And you cannot say that the world doesn't have decentralized Tornado Cash, as an example. So that's why it was necessary to do it that way.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for answering. And regarding what you said, you said something very interesting, that each protocol or competitor, let's say, can bring something in the ecosystem. And I was wondering, in the community, we had this discussion of swaps versus THORFi, and why do you think we should go on THORFi? Like THORChain should be on the finance part of it, and not only swaps.
Right. So THORChain has kind of 3 pillars: liquidity, as in attract liquidity to do things with it. Then it needs to secure that, so it has a security pillar. Security exists in economic security, so that means every dollar is secured. Functional security, as in the network has ability to pause, to throttle, to respond to attacks, to give node operators ability to manage and observe the network in real time. And lastly, it's got procedural security. That is, there's a stage net, there's a developer pipeline, there's ability for nodes to check the code before they run and make update and make relay, blah, blah, blah. So that's security. And lastly, its last thing is swaps. So once you have the TVL, the Bitcoin and Ether, and then you secure it, what do you do with it? Well, you want to generate money across it. You want to monetize that TVL through swaps. However, it's always like a loop between those 3 pillars, and the swap revenue alone, in my opinion, is not sufficient to attract massive TVL. You have to solve the TVL, the liquidity providing experience. You have to solve an ability for anyone to come to the protocol in a one-click deposit, add liquidity without going through this massive cognitive hurdle of dual LP, impermanent loss, which pool do I add to, when do I add, how do I add, when do I leave. By the way, adding liquidity across 2 different chains is a significantly more complex mechanism than jumping on Uniswap. Uniswap, you just sign, atomically deposit, and in one go, and 15 seconds later you have your LP position. THORChain requires you to set up 2 different wallets on 2 different chains, make 2 different transactions, and they both happen at different times. So the protocol needs to be able to respond to partially dropped transactions and blah, blah, blah. It just gets crazy. So that's why we've always pursued the idea that liquidity provision should be completely and absolutely abstracted away to the holy grail of just one-click deposit. And so we kind of separated out the dual LP experience in a direction where L1 savers have a one-click deposit. They have a very simple product to understand, and they can add liquidity. They deposit the Bitcoin, it's principal protected, and they can leave with a little bit more Bitcoin. And in a new direction, well, an emerging direction with Rune Pool is to provide that same user experience with a one-click deposit with Rune. By the way, Rune Pool is actually not for THORChads. Rune Pool is actually, and I hope they're listening in this chat, Rune Pool is to suck out 16 million Rune, which sits on Binance hot and cold wallets. It's actually not for you guys. It's specifically a feature to suck out 16 million Rune in Binance cold wallets, which I am not happy with at all. And I wake up every single day and try and devise elaborate schemes to pull 60 million Rune out of Binance. The Rune Pool is the single feature that will activate that 60 million Rune, remove it from Binance's hot and cold vaults, and stick it back in the protocol. It's not for THORChads. It's to get that Rune. Because we've been banging our heads against the last 3 years with Binance about how to reactivate that 60 million. Node operation is too complex. In fact, the security is overbonded right now. We don't need more nodes. It's actually overbonded. What we need is more TVL. Where is that TVL? Where is all the Rune sitting right now? It's actually sitting in Binance cold wallets. Why is it sitting in a Binance cold wallet when it should be in the protocol itself? That's the question we've been asking ourselves for 3 years, and that's what Rune Pool is for. I'm telling everyone this because I'm just completely open and honest about everything I do. That's Rune Pool. Then the last thing is lending.
That's a good point to clarify. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The last question is like this kind of THORFi direction. So THORFi does two things. One, it invalidates the idea that only centralized exchanges can offer features. So for THORChain to offer lending, basically throws the finger at centralized exchanges and said, no, actually, THORChain can do it, and it potentially can do it better and in a more public way with better risk levers that are not opaque and can easily be inspected by anyone in the community. So it invalidates the idea that centralized exchanges should exist. Second thing it does is provide a giant marketing campaign. Why do you think we all burning 60 million Rune in the process, apart from nothing but drawing more eyeballs to the THORChain protocol itself? And that's why it's both marketing, it's a strategic direction to invalidate centrals and validate decentralized exchange liquidity protocols. But always the vision has been to match feature by feature centralized exchanges. What are centralized exchanges for? Savers, swaps, trading, order books, perps, lending. So a centralized exchange will continue to exist in their size, right, until a protocol comes along and feature matches them, right? And that's definitely going to be THORChain, or we're going to give it a good attempt. And that's the reason why this space is called the road to 100 billion, which I'll just segue straight into. The market has already proved that it is willing to entertain the idea that a centralized exchange should be worth $100 billion. Not once, but twice. Binance and Coinbase in the 21 cycle were valued at 100 billion. So not just one, but two. And if a decentralized protocol can get to centralized exchange parity, it should be worth more than centralized exchange. Why? Because it's an open door. Liquidity is not gated. It's not subjected to opaque, closed source Proprietary logic. You're not worrying about if you're trying to out-trade a market maker that's trading blindly into your buys and bids. You're not worried about being shut down by, I've woken up one morning back in 2014 and I logged into btce.com and there was the FBI has seized this domain sticker all over it. What had happened is the MTGOX hacker was laundering all this Bitcoin through BTC and FBI took the whole exchange down. I mean, even then I mistakenly moved some coins in Cryptopia and that got shut down by hackers. So centralized exchanges are just a honeypot. They're all battling away. The noose tightens around their neck every single day. They just become more regulated, more compliant, with more onerous rules placed on them, restricting the ability to move. Whereas none of that applies to decentralized liquidity protocols, which are supranational and exist outside the regulatory environment because are not all regulation in the world is geographically restricted. There is no regulation in the world which has which exists outside sovereign borders. So for a protocol that to exist across borders, it defines itself as being supranational, and therefore the geographically constrained laws and regulations do not apply through willful volunteered citizens. So that's my perspective, which I strongly adhere to. And that's why THORChain should be on a pathway to 100 billion. It has to do a couple things. One, it has to suck out 60 million or reactivate 60 million Rune and Binance Core vaults. Once that happens, then the incentive pendulum will switch from, let's just say we pull in 30, 50, 40, 50 million Rune to the Rune pool, making it available for POL. That opens up $200 million in savers. I'm telling you right now, there's more than $200 million worth of demand for a savings product. So we instantly match that, and now we have, 600 million in TVL. What happens to the incentive pendulum? Well, it switches from a liquidity and starts paying nodes double what they're getting paid today. What do the nodes do? Well, they start jumping in bond wars and start buying more Rune off the market to start competing. Why have we stagnated 100 nodes for the last 2 years? We went up to like maximum 104 nodes. What are we today? About that same. It's because the incentive pendulum has been streamed to the liquidity side for far too long, and the risk return ratio for nodes is at about the point at which it's stable. It's in its own equilibrium. So once that incentive pendulum shifts back, doubles the return for nodes, they will start competing. We should see 150 million Rune, and from 150 nodes, which means that's the real price action there to drive up security. 150 million Rune on the security side, 100 million Rune on the liquidity side. We're now looking at 250 million Rune in the protocol. Most of the price action is driven by is organic buy-sell pressure on the protocol itself, and no longer this kind of like pump-mentals on or speculation on the centralized exchanges. That is the road to 100 billion. Savings are scaling, lending is scaling, security is scaling. And at the same time, we're rolling out order books, which is the necessary feature for perps. Perps will 10x THORChain's volumes. Memless will move the needle. We can add Solana and a whole bunch of L2s in one sweep for RPC. That's how we achieve 100 billion. It may not happen this cycle, but I can certainly see a 10x happening this cycle comfortably. And then we correct. Certainly next 10x. And then certainly next cycle, THORChain should be memeing 100 billion hard for sure.
Let's go back to the sexes, because you mentioned them several times. I didn't know that about the Rune 2.0 sucking out 16 million Rune from Binance. I didn't know that. That's a very, very good point to stress there, which a lot of people might not know what. They might have overlooked it. They might not understand the significance of that. But how do you see THORChain being integrated or used by central exchanges? Why don't they do this already?
Right, so the whole vision of THORChain is to try and get 1 million Bitcoin in its vaults. So, you guys think I'm crazy even memeing 100 billion, but I'm been trying to meme 1 million Bitcoin since the start. If we could get to 1 million Bitcoin, by the way, it's not unplausible considering Coinbase has about that. MT Gox at 800,000 Bitcoin. These numbers are certainly worth entertaining. More importantly, at some point, some protocol will attract 1 million Bitcoin into its system. Hopefully it's not BlackRock.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully it's not Coinbase.
Yeah.
Surely a decentralized protocol which offer better assurances as to custody, incentive structures, and decentralization should ultimately be the beneficiary of 1 million Bitcoin. Is it THORChain? Well, hopefully it will be. At that point, why would any centralized exchange bother even attracting a single one more Bitcoin? Because why wouldn't they just direct all the liquidity flows through a pool of 1 million Bitcoin? They would do it out of their own interest. And by the way, at that point, THORChain nodes may as well reduce the min bips down to 1, because 1 million Bitcoin, it's just going to be ridiculous, right? But so yeah, that's why. So centralized exchanges will probably serve as just regulated on-off ramps for users, probably with credit cards and debit cards that you can swipe away with your Tesla bots to get them to clean your house for you. Or maybe you can swipe your Coinbase credit card as you book a moon ride around on a Starship rocket. Who knows? So that's the future. Centralized exchanges will direct order flow through decentralized liquidity pools. Well, where is the biggest liquidity pool in the world? I don't know. Is it THORChain? I think it is at the moment. It's certainly not liquid, certainly not Lightning. Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
A lot of people might not get that because from one side, you know, BlackRock ETFs, they're supposed to be shilling our bags essentially to, you know, institutional investors, for example. And so just to clarify that for people, because a lot of people might not get the nuance, why are you against BlackRock being the first to have 1 million BTC?
Okay,
Just to
there's two
contextualize
reasons
for people.
here. One is, yeah, sure, two reasons. The first reason, like Executive Order 6102 basically made private gold ownership illegal and pulled in everyone's gold because they had custody of it and they could do that. I'm telling you that right now, the only way the US can bail itself out, and it's not going to be $35 trillion worth of debt, it will be 50 trillion in the next 10, 15 years. You cannot monetize $50 trillion worth of debt with AI or Tesla bots or GDP or gold or your economy or an inflated housing market. You can only monetize $50 trillion worth of debt with an asset that can move through $50 trillion worth of debt very quickly. There's only one asset in the world that has the potential to pull that off, and it's not gold, it's actually Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin is moving through and on its way to 100 trillion, I believe 1 quadrillion is certainly possible in our lifetimes, then the US will quickly look towards its custodians and go, hang on a minute, we've got $50 trillion worth of Bitcoin already under our custody through BlackRock and Coinbase. Why don't we just seize it and use that to monetize our debt and make it go to zero? And I'm not saying this is hypothetical. This is probably what is likely to happen.
This has happened
if you were
many
holding one
times
Bitcoin
before in history. As we know, during the American Civil War, they were rounding up literally door to door people's silver in their houses for bullets and weapons, literally going door to door. And so you were fucked. You couldn't do anything.
Correct. So if you're holding Bitcoin on BlackRock, you are entertaining a future where you allow the United States government to monetize $50 trillion worth of debt with your Bitcoin. If you're happy with that reality, go right ahead. So there needs to be a counter swing, a counter movement, aka decentralized liquidity. The second reason is Bitcoin going into BlackRock vaults, which actually are wrapped up into Coinbase vaults, it does not contribute to the liquidity of Bitcoin itself, right? It's because essentially Bitcoin is being bought off the market and it's being pulled off active markets and being stuck in cold vaults. Bitcoin is only going to get more volatile if this continues because it's literally being moved out of the markets into cold storage. And so as the liquidity of Bitcoin reduces, it becomes more volatile and more difficult to use. I mean, it's not too bad for traders. So what is the countering force here? The countering force is Bitcoin being moved out of cold storage into giant liquidity pools. And those giant liquidity pools are not based in the US. Those liquidity pools are run by 150 nodes in this supranational distributed protocol called THORChain, hopefully, that is able to exist outside the jurisdiction, cannot be seized in any way, shape, or form. That's the future. And as a result, Bitcoin gets more liquid. So that's the future I want to build. And if anyone else here wants to help me build it, then jump right ahead. But yeah, I'll state it up plainly. THORChain, 1 million Bitcoin with 250 plus nodes in 10 years. Let's do it. Because then that Bitcoin is not going to get seized under an Executive Order 6102 Act version 2.
Perfect. Seb, would you like to pick up from here? I do have another couple of questions, but if anyone wants to join up and ask a question, please do. There are some requests of people in the community for speaking. In about 10 minutes, I'm going to open those up. So if you would like to ask JP a question or anybody, any question, maybe an observation you'd like to share, please hit that request button. In about 10 minutes, I'll be opening them up and then you can ask your questions. Alternatively, if you can't speak, just post your questions in the comment and I can read them for you.
Yeah, I think everything you said, guys, makes sense. And I'd like to get back with on THORChain and something very that somebody pointed this morning. I think it's THORChain. He shared a very good post showing that THORChain has been building the past years, but still it is seen as a dino coin. It has this dino coin reputation. And the common belief that people have is that using THORChain is expensive. So my question is, how can we change this? Because obviously with streaming swaps and all the features that have been integrated so far, now the price execution is better. So how can we change this in people's mind, and what do you expect from the community to help in this?
So the vision of THORChain is not a coin or a protocol that you use directly. THORChain's primary users, as has been for the last 6 years, is not users, it's developers. We don't build products for users, we build products for developers to integrate into the wallet and services. Rune itself, the protocol itself, should disappear in the background. It should just be global financial infrastructure that exists. It is ossified, it's stable, it works. That's where it will get to, and the only way they can get to 1 million Bitcoin is if it just disappears away as it becomes infrastructure. Reliable, secure, ossified infrastructure. So I'm not really interested in appeasing those who think it's a Dino coin. I'm actually interested in solving the hardcore problems of stability and features that we serve on a silver platter to the shifts, the THORswaps, the ledgers, and more, the LiFi protocols of the world, because they have the 1 million users. They have the relationships with their users and their marketing funnels, and they can manage those the liability of those users. And so in the future, the only person who should be actively buying Rune are node operators, and they will buy Rune in order to, by the way, they will actually play both sides in incentive pendulum, I believe. But node operators should be the ones buying Rune to access the real yield of the network, right? And that way, the security of the network scales with the demands for L1 savers. POL will match on the other side, and then we have lending to create price action. But the primary users, those who swap, those who save L1 assets, and those who borrow against the L1 assets, should not know that THORChain or Rune was ever involved. Right? Rune is actually a product for those coming to the network seeking to make yield on its income. The second part of it is a very specific part that THORChain is expensive. I actually don't agree. I mean, THORChain did have a bug recently that had high outbound multipliers, and that may have caused that recent perspective, but that's been fixed in the latest version as of like a week ago.
Okay, sounds good. Richie, maybe?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I have just a couple of follow-up questions. Then I want to get into some of the community questions. Please, if you could try to answer them in short. So first of all, it's about wallets. How do you plan to onboard more wallets? And also, what do you expect or need from the THORChain community?
Right, so wallets is a question of just an amazing developer user experience. They can just come to THORChain's developer docs, they can just one click, create, and away they go. We're working very hard to manage that. Every single time we do an integration, we squeeze out some more issues and improve that experience for sure. We're about to try and remove a contract whitelisting on the router, which will help more and more protocols. We're actually about to upgrade the router to help wallets like THORSwap. It's just developer user experience. And by the way, the protocols, the products who have wrapped THORChain are making real money. Go to THORSwap, check out their monthly affiliate fees. Go to Asgardex. Asgardex is a single developer who I know that runs that desktop app and is making something like 20 grand a month, right? Just because they run an open source wallet app. And by the way, it's not going to be 20 grand a month any longer. It's going to be significantly more in the coming cycle. This is a single developer with a part-time content producer on a single open source wallet app. Anyone can do this. And so the numbers speak for themselves. Trust Wallet, when they first launched, was making $1 million a month. The founder of Trust Wallet reached out to me recently and said, thank you for making Trust Wallet profitable. Like, that's just crazy, because back in 2013 and even up to 2017, wallets were never profitable. They were doing all these stupid, funny games about how to make money and selling, and it never worked. And our vision was always you could make wallets profitable through affiliate fees. And that's why the very first THORChain release had affiliate fees baked in from the beginning, because that's the only way you can make your wallet infrastructure layer decentralized and self-sustaining instead of being funded by subsidies. So that's the answer to the specific question. Now, it might be a good segue into a Voltisig.
I was just about to ask that, literally. Yeah, because connected to wallets. Please continue. You were talking about it the other day. It's a great thing.
Right. So I've been building wallets for a while now. I first started trying to download wallet apps in 2013 when they got banned by the App Store. I found Victor in 2017 when there was 15 people in his Telegram, helped him and advised them, invested in him, ultimately introduced him to Binance, which bought out the product, and now in the safe hands of Binance. An amazing product. I've been with, been building wallets alongside other wallet developers for 7 years now. I'm built Exchange.js. I built the very first version of THORSwap, which used to be BepSwap. Built Asgardex, the very first version of Asgardex. Built the very first Asgardex Chrome extension, which is now XDeFi. So I'm a wallet developer at heart. I love wallets. I love trying to solve the problems. I'm intimately familiar with the pains of wallets. And I realized towards the end of last year, the biggest problem is a single signature wallets. The fact that you have all your money on a single little password, which is just a random number between 0 to 2 to the power of 256. And boom, you make one mistake and it could all go. You could even just lose that piece of paper, get phished, attacked. And I've had family and friends impacted by this. So I thought, hang on a minute, it's right there. The THORChain CSS with Trust Wallet's wallet core jammed together in a retail friendly app called Voltisig, and it works. That's the crazy thing about it. It's basically two-factor. You log into your Gmail, you log into your Discord, you log into your bank app with two-factor, but you don't log into your MetaMask with two-factor. Doesn't it blow your mind? Well,
Absolutely.
The technology to solve two-factor for a decentralized wallet is significantly more difficult than logging into your Google 2FA or your LastPass. It required a protocol called GG20, which has only been around for 3 years, and it works. The fact that THORChain has a non-zero amount of TVL in its vault should prove to you the protocol is pretty robust. And by the way, THORChain's TSS is not only the largest open source MPC protocol in the world, but it's also the one that exists in an adversarial environment. So every single day, attackers can look at THORChain's code and THORChain's TSS code and try and work out how to steal, upwards of 300-400 million plus more if you include the bond in the network. Over $1 billion in THORChain's system with open source code, and it works. The fact that literally, as I tell people, that the fact that THORChain has non-zero dollars in its vault for 3 years now is proof that the TSS protocol works and is secure to use. And so we basically took that, jammed in a retail app, and it works. It runs for Solana, all your ETH chains, Cosmos, everything. It's all right there. It requires two-factor, more than 2 devices. You can have remote cosigners, transaction policies, and more. In 12 months, this is going to be blindingly obvious. You will be absolutely aghast that you ever considered logging into your MetaMask with a single signature in 12 months from now. And we intend for Voltisig to be everywhere. It should be the gold standard of two-factor vaults for all crypto wallets going forward. In fact, in 12 months, do not use a wallet unless they have a Voltisig integration. Just don't even think about touching it, because the second that you put your crypto on a single signature wallet, there is a non-zero chance, which increases as time goes by, that secret could be compromised or leaked or lost. Just repeat that back to yourself. You put your crypto on a single signature. As time passes, the risk of you losing or getting that secret lost or leaked or compromised increases. It doesn't decrease. Compounds. It increases. Correct. So, however, with a multi-sig, multi-auth app, two-factor vault, it doesn't have that same characteristic. By the way, you can reshare and kick out old devices and add new devices in this TSS protocol. So anyway, that's Voltisig. I'm very passionate about it because it solves a hardcore problem of self-custody, and self-custody is only going to get more harder. And every single time I jump into Twitter and I see someone who's got phished by another Bored Ape download PDF Discord phishing attacked, or I see another person with a address swap. Just 2 weeks ago, someone had 70 million wrapped Bitcoin address swapped on him because he copy and pasted with a Trojan on his Windows laptop or something. By the way, hardware wallets are just silly. Hardware wallets are not only being
that was literally my next question. I was just about to ask, because of this multi-sig, as you said, if this can be used on different wallets, then how would that affect the nature of hardware wallets? Because they do have regulatory issues, backdoors, as we saw not too long ago with Ledger, for example. God knows the destiny of Trezor, because they are also inside the European Union, subject to EU law. There is Tangem, which is in Switzerland, but still, please continue about hardware wallets. I'm really interested in that.
So I mean, every single time I receive of those ridiculous Ledger phishing emails, it reminds me that Ledger stored my information, not only my email address, but my postal information, my hardcore real address, and had it leaked. So not only is it freely available to anyone on the internet to find out that I'm a Ledger customer, find out my Ledger details, my email, and my hardcore real address, but also Ledger integrated in their closed source proprietary tracking software a line of code in their firmware that sniffs your private key deliberately from your Ledger. And they say they shard it and they will, we won't be evil, but yeah, we do sniff your private keys out of your Ledger in a line of code. It's okay, just trust us, we won't do it. But I'm telling you, when the European Union police force rocks up to Ledger headquarters in France and demands that all European citizens' private keys are to be collected by the European Union, there's a non-zero chance of that occurring. I can just bet you that no one is going to be saying no to that. And it's not about don't be evil, right? It's about can't be evil.
Yes.
It's literally, no, we cannot do that, right? Because there's no line of code that exists to do that. Well, if you are happy with that Ledger having a line of code to take your private keys right now, that the very next time you connect it to your MacBook to sign a $100 Ethereum transaction, you could lose your 100 grand worth of Bitcoin sitting in an adjacent wallet to the European Union because Ledger has that line of code, then I can't help you. Whereas instead, Voltisig, there's no such line of code. It's fully self-custodial. It's multi-auth. It's a really important distinction between don't be evil and can't be evil. Google actually used to be the proponent of don't be evil, but actually scratch that. It's about can't be evil.
Yeah,
there's literally no way for these private keys to be taken. Right. So, and I mean, hardware wallets. It's just a honeypot. Try flying in and outside the US with a bunch of hardware wallets in your backpack, and let me know how comfortable you feel. Even on Australia Border Force, like just rolling in. Are you carrying more than 10 grand in cash? No, I'm not. Are you carrying? Oh, I see your ledger. Are you carrying more than 10 grand in crypto on that ledger?
Exactly.
No, I'm not.
And the ledger's
to
easy to identify because it's rather unique. It looks, something special. If we can do away with that.
It's a honeypot.
But as you said, when the European Union roll up to the Ledger offices, we're going to see some pretty interesting zombification. I'm going to have to stop there because we have so many different questions. I think we could talk all day, but I do value your time. Guys, if you would like to ask JP or pose any questions, any observations, please hit that request button now because I'm going to open up the chat. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, I just want to go through a couple of the questions in the comments. So first and foremost, when is the hard fork happening along with the rune pool, asks Chris. And also, we are expecting big integrations. Any hints on who it would be? A central exchange perhaps, or someone that we wouldn't expect?
Hard fork, IBC upgrades, new Cosmos State Chain, Taproot support, all happening ideally within the next couple of months. At the same time, we reckon we can get Solana out on that similar timeline. Like I said with the team, this the first quarter and certainly this next quarter is shedding technical debt. It's doing all the things that we were kind of off put for a while, get it out of the system so that we can go into Q3 and being able to get cracking into the feature timeline again. The very first feature, large-scale feature that we will ship will be Rune Pool, because actually it's one of the lowest risk features we can ship because it doesn't touch core vault code, it doesn't touch outbounds, it doesn't touch the crazy logic that exists for the Bifrost. It literally is a module that onboards Rune and allocates it between the reserve, POL, and Rune Pool users. It's actually quite a simple feature to build. And if you look at on a risk-reward matrix, it's significantly high reward with low risk, right? And we have 12 months to tweak and adjust, to treat it as a product, to market it, to biz dev around it, to go to our user interfaces and campaign and to add Rune Pool buttons. That's certainly a table for Q3. The second part of the question is, so we've got roadmap, features. So yeah, features, other things like memoryless, order books, which require trade accounts, perps, which require order books. Perps may not happen this year. It's certainly something I'm passionate about. I'd love to see by Christmas, Rune Pool, memoryless, order books, and trade accounts all live and humming along smoothly. And perhaps 2025, we can tackle perps. But at some point, the protocol needs to ossify. The protocol needs to determine that it's reached its final state, and it should kick into maintenance mode, where it just seeks to add stability, developer experience, and more chains, which will happen.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing is integrations. So we are actively campaigning with our business development efforts, all the world's major wallets to integrate THORChain swaps as a priority. And I'm telling you, it's all going to happen because every wallet that does not have Bitcoin swaps is leaving money on the table. So I'm telling you right now, it's all going to happen, and they are all going to integrate decentralized L1 Bitcoin swaps, and they're all going to choose a method which gives their users the best price execution across the widest range of swaps. And if you were to put 4 or 5 options on a whiteboard and say which one gives the best price execution of the largest size of swaps, there's really only one answer to that. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you very much. We
The
do
next
have
question.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your patience, guys. Rune, that's BNB holder. I appreciate your patience. Thank you very much for waiting. Open up your mic. Please ask your question.
Yes, hello there. I would like to ask JP about I didn't hear what he said about the ecosystem getting 10 billion comfortably this cycle. Is that right? Did I get that right? And also, I would like to ask about my my Chad. I don't see him around anymore. Chad Bradford. Okay, so that's my question.
Thank you very much for your question. Great question.
Sorry, a price. I once said I'm not willing to speculate in any price apart from Rune. I honestly think that THORChain should hit 100 billion next cycle, and I think it can get close to significant ways there this cycle. This cycle is still 12 to 18 months. If you look at where it was 3 years ago and compare the metrics today, it's a much more stronger position today. It's only a matter of time between the hot ball of fire, which is money, that will turn its attention to THORChain, and I think that's going to happen, in this cycle. And the next part is, where is Chad Barrowfoot? So Chad Barrowfoot is easy to be found, and he's just taking a break at the moment. He's going through some personal issues, but he's well and truly. By the way, all the original team needed to leave. It's not like keep them around forever. No, absolutely. It's a requirement that everyone from the team leave stage left. That's what happened. It's necessary to prove that the protocol actually is decentralized, that the fact that the original team aren't even around anymore, but it's still a cohesive direction. So we've been able to pull that off. There wasn't any crazy drop of the ball. Like, the original team left by necessity, and then a new team, a new crop of maintainers have come in. What other protocol in the world did you see that kind of transition quietly happen in front of you with no real faltering of the vision and having a cohesive direction and strategy? So I think the THORChain community has pulled off a significantly difficult milestone, which is achieving decentralization. So it's not about where is Chad Barrowfoot. You should be saying, well, thank God Chad's left, because it proves to me that the protocol is decentralized. Chad hasn't left. He's still hanging around. He's just taking a break.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your question. We do have another question. We have another speaker. If you could please open up your microphone. Umar, please turn on your mic. JP Thor is ready for your question. Okay, Omar, if and when you would like to speak up, please feel free to. We do have another question from the comments in the meantime. How many killer features of your product make it ahead of its competitors? Could you tell just 2 or 3?
Sure. So the question is, how many killer features of our product make it? I mean, THORChain has heaps of killer features. Is that the question?
That is the question. Yeah, it's from Bullish Pizza. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what features does THORChain not have? It's, we're hard at the bits.
I think it's good
Nothing about this protocol.
These kind of questions, it's good to bring in the new people because they might not be so fully aware. And so just to simplify things.
Yeah, I mean, THORChain has everything you'd want. I mean, we work with Chain Philip Mayer and Soraya on the daily. We talk to them and see what they're doing and monitoring what the whole ecosystem's doing. We watch what Chain Philip's doing and whatnot. The protocol stays competitive. Like every feature that needs to make it to the protocol makes it to the protocol or is in the roadmap. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, what about your thoughts on solving the fiat on-off ramp issue? And does this need to be addressed to capture significant existing central exchange volume? That's a question by
Legacy
Gus Chiggins.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a transition period between old school money that's in centralized proprietary database and this kind of like weird, intermediate money, which is stable coins. I think over time, the next 10, 20 years, the stablecoin TVL is going north of trillions, and it's not going to be multi-denominated. It's just going to be USD. So bizarrely, the world's dollar value, because the dollar is actually a pretty good asset at transporting value across space, is going to collapse into or coalesce into the United States dollar. And the stablecoin holders are all going to be massive holders of US treasuries. In fact, they will be the largest holders of US treasuries, as everyone in around the world escapes their currencies and goes into stablecoins. Stablecoins are a weird transition where they exist on kind of these open source, open ledgers where you can see the logic and play around, but they are pegged to a closed source asset backed by the faith of the US government. But anyway, the next 10, 20 years, we'll see an explosion in stablecoin TVLs, which is only a good thing for the liquidity of crypto. And then all the world's non-USD currencies will hyperinflate to zero. We'll be in this transition where everyone will use United States dollars on decentralized ledgers. And ultimately, United States dollar itself will hyperinflate against other value accrual assets, and that will be Bitcoin. So eventually, as I tell people, Bitcoin is not volatile. In fact, one Bitcoin is just one Bitcoin. The ruler by which you are measuring Bitcoin is volatile. Like you choose to use your local fiat currency as a ruler of value. What is value? Value is time multiplied by effort. Your only scarce properties in the world are time and economic effort. That's it. So value is actually a scarce property, meta property, that should itself be measured by a scarce meta ruler of value. And really the only finite thing in the universe is entropy expansion. That's it. The energy is infinite, mass is infinite from the observer universe. The only thing that exists incrementally and continues is entropy. And guess what Bitcoin is a really good capture of? The step change in entropy. It literally takes energy in as useful energy and converts it into less useful energy, being useless heat. And that's why Bitcoin is so OPEX intensive. Because it literally is changing the entropy of the universe and marking it, and then coming back to you and saying, hey, I measured a change in the entropy of the universe. Here's a reliable ruler to do that. And so when you walk around, you eat food, and you do useful work with your limited time, what are you doing? You're literally consuming food, turning into glucose, and turning that into waste heat. So you yourself are changing the entropy of the universe with your scarce time and effort. So in actual fact, Bitcoin is the only way to measure value correctly, because it's the only way we have at this point in time at measuring the delta change in entropy correctly. United States dollar is not that. It does not reliably measure entropy change correctly. Bitcoin can. So ultimately, all the world's value will coalesce to Bitcoin because it's the only reliable ruler of value, and one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. What was the question again?
Thank you. No, we're going to have another question from Timur. I appreciate your patience. Please open up your microphone. If you've got a question or an observation, please share it, Timur. Hello, Timur. If you'd like, please open your microphone and ask your question. In the meantime, Creepy Doe has one observation. The reply to not allow the zombification of humanity was right on the money and galvanizing. Love it. I love it too. If you want to see some zombification, someone in the chat is sharing nude pics, by the way. Personally, I'm more interested in THORChain. Closing thoughts. Seb, Stan, if you'd like to speak up. Stan is also a co-founder at Alpha Hunt. He's one of the people doing the research and providing all of the updates. Stan, are you with us, my friend?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. One thing I'm definitely very excited about is the faulty SIG wallet. And I think one question I had there, and this is more on onboarding, because wallets are kind of like a habit product, right? Like once you pick a wallet, you tend to stick with it, even though it's not the most optimal choice. I see it a lot with friends. They keep using MetaMask, despite better wallets being out there. So what's kind of your view on like this campaign to get people out of this habit of using all these hot wallets or hardware wallets? And do we need incentives for that, or is that going to happen organically?
Great question. JP, are you with us? Did you catch that? JP, you are muted at the moment.
Perhaps there is a connection issue. I don't
I
know.
think there is a connection issue. JP Thor, I can see you're speaking, but we can't actually hear you. JP, we've lost you for a second. I can see you're speaking, but we can't hear. Okay, I think he's going to try to rejoin. I'll add him again as a speaker. One moment, guys. Great talk, by the way. JP Thor, I've given you access. You should be able to speak up now.
Yeah, maybe meanwhile, Seb, what are your thoughts so far? And maybe you can share a bit on your opinion on THORChain while we're waiting in general, like your vision or thesis. Hello, Seb, are you there?
Okay, a little bit of a technical problem there. I can see JP4 is asking. I'm giving him the permission. He has full access.
So a soft Twitter rug.
There we go. We got you
No,
back.
this is
Soft Twitter rug. Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
okay.
no. Sorry, this is familiar cow. Sorry, this isn't JP. Just checking into. I know the Twitter Spaces is just terrible with all the issues.
By the way, while we're waiting, maybe you can talk a bit on what excites you about THORChain right now. The guy.
Okay, we got JP Thor back, I believe. I can see he's a speaker now. JP, can you try to speak up?
Hey guys, I'm back. I went into Twitter jail for a second there. Now I'm back.
There we go. Got you back.
Okay, cool. Hit me up with a question. It might have been my last question, then I got to bounce.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
basically, yeah. Please, Seb. Stan, sorry.
yeah. So what I was wondering is, like wallets are kind of like a habit product. I see it a lot with my friends. Once people choose a wallet, whether it's a Ledger or a MetaMask, they kind of stick with it, despite being, having better options to choose from. So I was kind of wondering with Faulty, how do you look at onboarding all these lazy people that, find switching kind of tiresome? And are incentives needed for this, or do you think this will happen organically?
Absolutely. So VoltaSig is a new wallet. You have to jump into it, download it, and generate it. Hopefully, you only need to generate these vaults once, and then they can be imported across a variety of different wallets and exchanges. Interfaces. Now, to do that, I could raise $10 million and spend $8 million in Facebook ads to try and access these users. Or I could run a really well-run launch, low FTV, generate heaps of hype, make all the early users and whitelisters really wealthy because it starts off at such a low FTV with huge interest, runs up to 100 million FTV, and then do a 6-year airdrop. Now, the first 12-month airdrop will be significant. It'll be 10% of the supply, and it's designed to bring as many people into the wallet as possible and give them a large, wealthy airdrop. At that point, they should be telling all their friends about it, basically how much money they made from this VoltaSig airdrop, and because the airdrop actually runs for another 5 years. So yeah, the incentives are there to bring users into the wallet. And 100%. It's a marketing game. There's very low technical risk to this product because it's all more or less built, which is on the flip side of THORChain, which is basically 99% technical risk. And so this is just a marketing It's an influencer. It's a product strategy problem to solve, which I'm very passionate about solving. And it's in road. So in 12 months' time, it's my job. Oh, here we go. Now I'm back. Yeah, it's a marketing problem.
Okay, we do have another question, JP. This is from the chat, and it is because you've mentioned marketing and ads. Is there some plan for, influencer marketing, for example, calls for 2024 rollout? JP, you're muted again. JP, you are muted if there's an issue. So the question was about marketing, and if you're going to be using, influencers, calls, any kind of paid ads, what is your agenda with regards to marketing? I know that you're doing a lot of campaigning, you're carrying a lot of the weight on your shoulders yourself by being very active on social media, for example, but what about for the marketing? Anything that you can share with us? Okay, I'm adding you as a speaker again, JP. I hope it works. Please accept. Anybody else, if you would like to ask a question, I'm more than happy to let other people on stage as well. Just take a look. We have AJT, we have Juggernaut, and JP. Okay, JP, you are a speaker now. Seb, we also have you as a speaker if you would like to speak up. Okay, I definitely haven't muted the speakers. I just got a question asking if I'd muted everyone. No, not everybody is muted.
Hey, there we go, guys.
Okay, there we go.
Looks like JP had to bounce. If there's a question or two, might be able to take a question or two, but if you're looking to talk to JP, I think he had to head out here. But great space, guys, and you guys are awesome hosts. So really appreciate you all having us out here. I think we had a great time. We'll also put this on our RSS feeds. People can check out the recording afterwards. But had a great time listening to all you guys and JP.
Thank you very much. With just some closing thoughts, and I'd like to hear from the other guys as well. I really appreciate you guys coming on this space, and it says a lot about JP Thor. Guys, if you are listening, THORChain is an account of 244,000 followers and growing. We are 500 followers. We are small by comparison. We understand THORChain. We understand the ecosystem. We've published a couple of reports on this available for you guys. You can check it out on the Twitter feed, absolutely. But as Confucius once said, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. I don't know how JP Thor feels about the room he was in today, but I know that I was in the right room. This was a good room for me, and I think it was for many of you guys. I think we learned a lot today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Please do share this, get it out so that people can access this information too. One of the key takeaways today was Rune Pool 2.0. This is a way to suck out 16 million Rune from Binance, which probably shouldn't be there in cold wallets, but it should rather be in the protocol itself. That makes sense to me. How do you feel about the road to $100 billion? What do you think about a 10x this cycle? These are questions that you guys need to walk away and ask, but I hope that you managed to get something out of this. Please like and follow for more, and we'll be seeing you in the next one. Seb, Stan, do you have anything just to close this space for today? Everybody, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh yes, I just want to say that I think I learned a lot as well about JP Thor's vision. I think he has a like a big plan, and he has been thinking about this a lot. So I'm really excited to see a lot of the stuff he comes forward with, especially on the campaigning side, and aligning all these different users to the same mission. So I can't wait for that, and hopefully we are able to get on another space with THORChain in maybe Q3 to speak about all the different futures then.
Okay.
And you can bet we'll do our very best to set that up. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be seeing you in the future on different X spaces. Please like and follow us for more. Share their spaces with people who you know, because I do think there is a lot of value to get from today's talk with JP Thor. Everybody, stay awesome, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.